There's an irony. For weeks, Americans argued about the so-called Ground Zero Mosque. Then finally, the Imam behind the project returned from overseas and gave an in-depth interview to CNN. And he was virtually ignored. Why? Because the spotlight had been grabbed by a Quran-hating pastor from Florida.
We are burning a book. We are not killing someone. We are not murdering people. We are not dragging people out of the cars who are doctors and killing them. We are simply burning a book. The general needs to point his finger to radical Islam and tell them to shut up, tell them to stop, tell them that we will not bow our knees to them. I wish that all Muslims would get saved. I wish that they would all convert to Christianity, because Christianity is the one and only true religion. The Quran, in our opinion, is an evil book.
Inflammatory? Yes. By comparison, Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf was calm, cool, and pretty collected, even when the question was hot. The Imam sat down with CNN's Soledad O'Brien.
There are many people who've said, why not just go somewhere else?
I understand the sensitivity of the people. I really do, and I'm very, very concerned about it. We've reached out and still reaching out to 9/11 families. I need to remind the audience that this story first broke last December in the New York Times. It was a front page article in the New York Times, and no one objected. This controversy only began in May, and it began as a result of some politicians who decided to use this for certain political purposes. And this is when it began to snowball, Soledad.
So you think it's been politicized?
Absolutely. And this is very dangerous and tragic.
At least one politician lumped together Pastor Jones and Imam Rauf as abusers of freedom. Listen carefully to House Minority Leader John Boehner's answer to ABC's George Stephanopoulos.
What is your message for Pastor Jones?
Well, to Pastor Jones and those who want to build the mosque, just because you have a right to do something in America does not mean it is the right thing to do.
Agree? Disagree? Let's discuss. I'm joined by Dennis Hale. He's a professor of political science at Boston College, and Magid Mazen is professor of management at Suffolk University in Boston. Gentlemen, it's good to see you both. Thank you so much. Dennis, let me start with you. I read a paper this afternoon you've written essentially making the case that the so-called mosque should not be built where it's proposed to be built. Give us the basic reasons why.
I think it's much more important to focus not on the mosque being built, but on understanding Imam Rauf and this whole vexing question of who was a moderate Muslim and who was a pretend moderate Muslim. Imam Rauf is a whole lot smoother than Pastor Jones, and he's got a lot better ability to deal with the media and get a message across.
You write like you practically see him as a terrorist sympathizer, do you not?
I do not see him as a terrorist sympathizer, but I do see him as a proponent of the Muslim Brotherhood understanding of political Islam. After all, he has devoted now his life's work to spreading Sharia across the planet, and makes the preposterous claim that Sharia law is completely consistent with the United States Constitution.
But I'll get to you, Magid, in one second. If he is as unfortunate, and I can't think of a better word, a character as you describe him in your writings and as you speak now, my understanding is not only has the Obama administration used him as an emissary to the Muslim world, as preaching moderate values, my understanding is his predecessor, George W. Bush, did as well.
Sure.
So why do they not know what you apparently do?
I'm not sure why they don't know. You would have to ask them. It's not all that hard to find out, frankly.
Okay, so Magid, the picture you hear of Imam Rauf, I assume, I don't know, is it a picture that you see as well, or no?
I don't see it, and the answer to the fact that George Bush did it and Obama did it, two opposite extremes actually supported him, and he went on a mission to the Middle East. The tactic of using connections such as Muslim Brotherhood, terrorism and stuff like that is used against him, and was used before actually to prevent the Muslims from building a mosque here in Boston.
But is it factually accurate what Dennis Hale is saying? I mean, even if you think it's an unfair connection, is he saying anything that's untrue?
I actually don't care whether it is. It is the wrong question to answer. Because whether he is connected or not connected, I have to listen to what he is saying and what he is doing. And we should not continue with the argument that was with the people before us. We should not really focus on him and Jones. We should focus on the message, what is here. We have building a mosque here, and we have terrorizing a Quran here.
Let me get back to the Islamic Center, mosque, whatever you want to call it. If Rauf was not the leader of this effort, would you still have the same position that it shouldn't be built there?
I'm not sure. It would depend on who had come up
So
with
it's
the
not
idea.
the thing. I mean, you know, when I read
No, it's
your-
not the thing itself. I think the thing itself is less important than the way we understand the thing and the way we understand this conflict inside of the American and the Western Muslim community between people who are really trying to modernize Islam and bring it into the 21st century. And people like Rauf and the Muslim American Society and the Muslim Brotherhood Front groups who say quite openly that's not what they want.
But then say, are you not part of the problem as well? When I'm reading your stuff, you repeatedly refer to the mosque at Ground Zero. And I
Yes.
think, as we've learned, it's not at Ground Zero. It's a few blocks away.
The building-
it's not a
the
mosque.
building
There's a
that
prayer
they're-
room in the Islamic
It's a community center.
And so is that,
No,
is
it
that
is.
not an unfair description that helps?
Well, first of all, the building that they own was damaged in the attack.
Yes, it was. That's
So
correct.
this is at Ground Zero. I mean, the purpose of putting it there needs to be questioned and understood. It's not an accident that he chose to put it there. He said,
Why
for
did
instance-
he? You think it's a
He said
memorial
it-
to
yes.
9/11?
This, by calling it the Cordoba Initiative, he signaled to Muslims around the world what this is.
Which is?
A triumphalist mosque on a place where the infidels suffered a great defeat at the
How
end.
about it, Magid?
This is not a Cordoba initiative, and what I am trying to understand is if Imam Rauf is not the issue, and if we are talking about the meaning of this community center that has a tennis court, a basketball court, a swimming pool, and a prayer room, in addition to a culinary school.
And supposedly some interfaith rooms or something, or some such thing.
I'm a moderate Muslim. I would like to be able to take you and someone from the Jewish faith and go there and find out about commonalities between us. This place there will allow us to defeat the terrorist and to defeat the extremist in that regard. So if you are saying if Imam Rauf is not there, that is a potential for commonalities between us. We are now talking about a comparison between two issues here. One issue says, I have a promise for tolerance. The other issue says, I have a promise to inflict injury. I'm burning your book versus I'm erecting a monument for peace.
Dennis Hale, let's assume that everything you say is true purely for argument's sake. We are where we are. And the contention, I'm sure you've heard the quote, it was in the New York Times everywhere. Well, actually, it's from the CNN show. What Imam Rauf said on this CNN show was, if we move from that location, the story will be the radicals have taken over the discourse. So let's assume, again, you were right a year ago. But we're here today now. Muslims around the world know what the controversy is. They probably know Terry Jones by name. They know that people don't want that to build there. Does that at all affect your views that we are where we are?
No, in fact, I think I was very interested in that statement. I think you were right to pick it out. It's a very important statement. That is that's a very good way of pointing people in absolutely the wrong direction.
He says on the part of Rauf.
Yeah.
How so?
He says the conflict is between the radicals in the Muslim community and the Christian community on the one hand, and the moderates in both communities on the other. That's not where the battle is. The battle is between moderates and immoderates, and he's on the wrong side of that battle.
What's going to happen here? I mean, one of the issues, one of the ironies, at least for me, as I was trying to catch up on this story, is as of a week ago, $18,000 have been raised to build this thing. So after this whole fight, controversy, with the Bloombergs on one side, 70% of Americans on another, it may not even be built. Will it be?
I hope it will. It is a matter of hope, because what happened is that the dynamic of this issue here is very dangerous. We are now saying that anybody can actually pick up an issue on the wrong side and say, I'm going to burn a Quran, I'm going to burn a Bible somewhere else, and the whole issue can actually run out of hand. This is not the right thing. I hope it will be built, and I hope he will never burn the Quran.
We got to go. Unfortunately, Dennis Hale and Magid Mazin, thank you very much for your views. I appreciate it.